Hey, it's Tess. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're diving into a topic of the parent-child relationship. This is something that I'm no expert on navigating. It's something that I actually really struggle with, but it's also something that I have experience with. So here's some things that have helped me navigate the relationship, specifically with my mother. Now, this sounds like my mother didn't love me when I was a child. That's not the case. But her love was the love that I seeked more while I was growing up. So naturally, that relationship has been the one where less desirable relationships and tendencies have been built around. One major thing, and the most important thing, if I can save you stress and arguments, is just don't try to change your parent. Don't try to change them, okay? They are their own human with their own set of beliefs and mindsets and life experiences that have shaped them into exactly who they are today. Your parents have parents. Your parents have parents.
Your parents have parents.
Who have shaped them into who they are today. And those are all things to just be mindful of, honestly. They're not perfect. I think as kids, we look up to adults as these all-knowing beings that have it figured out and have permission to do whatever they want, and are you an adult? Is it true? It's not. We're just humans with a little bit more personal responsibility trying to figure our shit out. When your parents do shit that pisses you off, I can almost guarantee you that shit's coming from a place of love. So trace it back. After you have difficult interactions with your parents, sit back and really, really genuinely try to put yourself in their mindset. Not only in their perspective, but in their mindset. Try to adopt their behaviors, their views, their experiences, and rationalize, okay, what was received by me as something rude and demeaning and demanding, or something along those lines, could actually be seen or interpreted from their perspective as coming from a place of love. So try and find that. When I can find the love, it's a lot easier to find the compassion. In order to have a good understanding of the parent-child relationship, it's important to understand where it developed from. From the ages of 0 to 6 is where you're developing your attachment style, you're developing your emotions, your response to the world, your interpretation of the world. And this is a time where you would die if you didn't have somebody taking care of you. You need a parent to feed you, to shelter you, to clothe you, to give you water. If you don't have the love and approval and validation of your parents, you'll literally die. And that is how coping mechanisms are created. They're created by this younger version of yourself to protect yourself in order to receive that love, that validation, whatever you need from that parent to ensure on a subconscious level that you will be provided for. So what does that look like? Well, here's an example. When my parents used to argue when I was a kid, and please don't interpret this as, I was in a broken household and blah, 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 like fucking adults argue, it is what it is. The best way to get a response out of my father was if my mother went to her room and cried. I saw this pattern where she was so upset that she walked away and cried. He would then feel guilty and sad and follow her. Makes sense. So this is something that I have to work so hard to change. When my partner and I are having arguments, it really is my tendency to just say, I don't want to talk about this anymore, and want to walk away. That's a horrible habit. That is such ineffective communication. And yeah, that's something I picked up when I was a kid and something that I have to re-parent myself on as an adult. You'll notice that while you're navigating the parent-child relationship as an adult, there's a lot of reparenting that you have to do. And That's not a diss at your parents. It's not saying that they didn't do a good enough job. Every single parent is going to fuck up their child in some capacity, shape, or form. I had a very stable, healthy childhood. There was no abuse, there was no intense trauma, but every parent traumatizes their child. No matter how good of a job you do, you're going to pass on undesirable tendencies, bad coping mechanisms to your kids, because kids pick up on shit even if you don't mean them to. What I'm trying to explain to you is that all parents traumatize their children. The word trauma might seem a bit too big, but what I mean by trauma is incidences where you felt negative emotion, anger, sadness, fear, anxiety, and it wasn't resolved or satisfied at the time. So it leaves these trails and these patterns and these triggers that follow us into adulthood. And once we get to adulthood, it's our job to look ourselves in the mirror and fix that shit. It really is our job. And listen, working on yourself, genuinely, I really gotta close that window. That bird is so loud. That's better. Please hear me. Fuck, what was I about to say? Ah! It was important too. Oh, yes. Listen, when you look yourself in the mirror, start identifying your bad patterns, coping mechanisms, mindset, triggers, all of that, and you dive in and start doing the work on yourself, it's a lot easier to understand and empathize with your parents. And that's a huge piece to having a healthy relationship, is understanding. Understanding, empathy, and effective communication. I'm specifically speaking to the type of relationship that I'm healing or working on with my mother, and communication is massive. She feels left out or disconnected if I'm not communicating enough or effectively. So that's something that is easy for me to work on. That's also something that would be easy for me to snap on if I wasn't reflecting and working on my own habits. It could really annoy me that she feels that need for checking in and connection. But because I have a bit more of an understanding behind why she is, it's an easy thing for me to change to make her feel a fuck of a lot better. Learn compromise. There's gonna be times when there's a little bit of give and take, but don't go so far that you're really compromising your own happiness for theirs. That's when the relationship becomes toxic. So if you're working on a relationship with your parent, I challenge you to analyze their parents and understand why they are. Analyze your habits, your coping mechanisms, your triggers, and see, did any of those patterns develop from childhood? And does that help me understand my parents a little bit better? And when all else fails, find the love. Trace it back, because I can almost guarantee you it's there. Okay, thanks so much for tuning in this week, and see you next Tuesday.